November brings some of the most anticipated multiplayer games of 2025. And as always, we're starting with the highlights. With Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive, we have some real Inception level development going on. In the story, Chinu, a weak E-rank hunter, reawakens as a much stronger S-rank hunter. Which brings us to the game that was originally planned as a free-to-play PC port for the mobile gacha version that released back in 2024. However, the developers scrapped this plan entirely, doing justice to the franchise by releasing it as a fully polished action RPG, completely free of gacha. So practically a reawakening in itself. The game follows the narrative of the webtoon, taking you from weak E-rank to Shadow Monarch through cinematic storytelling and combo-heavy battles. If you like the manhwa or its anime adaptation, and chances are high with over 14 billion views worldwide, you are in for a treat. Not only does it follow the story, but it also includes tons of iconic characters, which I won't name here, since there are far too many and the chances of me butchering their names are also way too high. Aside from lovable characters, there are also iconic items, like the Demon King's daggers, to fully immerse yourself in your power fantasy. But compared to the webtoon, this isn't the same level of one-man show, as co-op is fully integrated into the gameplay. However, the name co-op leveling would have lacked some punch. Although you could theoretically all play Chinu at the same time, you are also free to pick one of the other characters and tackle dungeons and raids with up to 4 players. The challenges scale in difficulty, so it might be better to rely on tank and support characters, instead of depending on a quadruple Chinu plot armor. Between missions, you can even fight in casual 1v1 duels, because nothing says relaxation and recovery like a good old beating. If you don't have friends to whom you want to confess your deep love for the franchise, there is also matchmaking, with crossplay coming later when it launches on consoles next year.
Where Winds Meet is a gorgeous action-adventure RPG set in a wuxia world, which means it's all about ancient China, martial arts duels, and those gravity-defying moves like gliding through the clouds or sprinting across water. A lot of people mistake it for a full-on MMO, and honestly, it's easy to see why. Where Winds Meet actually offers 3 different modes of play. First up, the single-player mode, and this one looks like the strongest. It promises around 150 hours of narrative-driven gameplay, where every decision shapes your character's fate. You can walk the path of a noble hero or a chaotic outlaw, pickpocketing included. As well as jail time, by the way, if you haven't learned anything about going Sneak 100 in Skyrim. Also, quick question. If someone first throws hands with a bear and then literally throws that bear afterwards, are they noble or chaotic? Okay, never mind, that's definitely chaotic and the bear deserves a share of that treasure. Next, there's the seamless co-op mode. You can invite up to 3 friends and explore the open world together. The world is made up of over 20 unique regions, filled with points of interest, mini-games, and hidden secrets. And finally, there's an MMO light side that comes with a guild system, multiplayer dungeons, raids, and massive guild versus guild PvP wars. We didn't get into the closed beta, sadly, so we can't speak from first-hand experience. But early testers said the co-op felt a bit slapped on top of the single-player mode. Still, we're excited to see how it feels once it launches, especially the action combat system. The game is free to play, with monetization through battle passes and cosmetics. It doesn't look pay to win, but let's be honest, you can never be totally sure these days. Still, for the visuals alone, Where Winds Meet looks absolutely worth checking out. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 does a lot of things right when it comes to gameplay variety. It is surprisingly approachable no matter your skill level or playstyle. The story picks up 10 years after the events of Black Ops 2, following a team of new and old agents investigating the return of a dangerous criminal. The campaign spans 11 missions across global hotspots, from Japan and Nicaragua to the Mediterranean. And while it's packed with action, the devs have hinted at some psychological and maybe even supernatural twists for the story this time. The best part is that the entire campaign is fully playable in co-op for up to 4 players. Finishing it unlocks a 32-player PvE endgame mode that plays out on an open-world version of one of the campaign maps. You'll customize your loadout and tackle increasingly tough objectives, but don't expect it to be easy. This mode's designed to test your gear and patience, so be ready for some trial and error. Failing might cost you, as dying lets you lose your loadout, but that's probably part of the fun. If PvE's not your thing and you'd rather fight real players, there are 18 multiplayer maps, including some remastered Black Ops 2 classics and new large-scale modes to keep things interesting. And of course, it wouldn't be Black Ops without zombies. Back again for up to 4 players. What's new is the global progression system. No matter which mode you play, campaign, multiplayer or zombies, you will earn XP and progress your ranks, weapon unlocks and the battle pass. So it's a great system that rewards whatever you enjoy most. And speaking of passes, Black Ops 7 is launching day 1 on Xbox Game Pass. So if you're the last person on Earth who hasn't cancelled their sub lately, well, here you go. Overall, we love how Black Ops 7 feels welcoming to every type of player, whether you're into story campaigns, PvP or PvE. We are still a bit uneasy about that kernel-level anti-cheat requiring secure boot, even for solo and PvE play, but hey, not everyone's as worried about that stuff as we are.
We probably don't have to explain the Anno franchise to anyone here, as these games have been around for almost 30 years now. Still, every new entry manages to switch things up a bit. Sometimes a little better, sometimes drastically worse. Isn't that right, Space Anno? This time, however, the innovations are huge, as we go back to the Roman Empire and literally reinvent the wheel. The setting is divided between the Romans and the Celts, which you can develop alongside each other. This also brings the first major novelty: more than one production chain for each demand. Because, as the saying goes, all roads lead to Rome, literally. And speaking of roads, these, along with all other buildings, can now be placed diagonally. Is that important, you might ask? Yes, and surprisingly so. It breaks that usual grid pattern completely and felt refreshing when we played. And talking of grids and spreadsheets, you might as well leave those at home this time, as the whole simulation got a lot more unpredictable and dynamic, with factors like health, happiness, and a constantly fluctuating market depending on recent happenings. We could go on and on about deities, exploration, and even the first edition of modding support. But we want to keep this section under 20 minutes. So the 2 features we are most excited for are, for one, the return of land troops. They've been missing for 20 years and are finally back. And of course, co-op, because this time they really nailed it. Not only can you play against each other, but also together, as the same or different governors. But it doesn't end there. Why not mix both in giant setups for up to 16 people? You can even play the campaign together. Or start solo and invite your friends later, even cross-platform. And for the first time, there's the live save feature, where any participant can continue the game solo and re-invite the others later. You probably already figured, we are just a little bit hyped for this one. Did you know Europa Universalis started as a board game in 1993, focused on European geopolitics? That's why, even though the video game now covers the whole world, it still has Europa in the title. The more you know. With so much history behind it, it's no surprise that Europa Universalis V is massive. From feudal Japan to Italian city-states, hundreds of nations are yours to command. You decide your own path and reshape history, spanning 500 years with countless scenarios to explore. And you don't have to play alone, as co-op is massive. Team up with friends to trade, lead joint wars, or mix allies and rivals in hybrid scenarios. And these games can last weeks, because even a casual peace treaty can spark decades of intrigue. Warfare, trade, diplomacy, population, economy, politics, and more. That's where Europa Universalis shines. A true PhD-level strategy experience. It's so detailed that not only will your brain run hot, but your CPU will too, since everything is fully simulated rather than predetermined. Co-op technically supports up to 32 players, and competitive play up to 256, though real-world limits are much lower, thanks to the simulation demands. But hey, push those limits, Worst scenario, you get free heating.
Some players have been waiting 7 whole years for this one. And after multiple delays and 2 rebrandings, INAZUMA 11 Victory Road is finally coming out. Now, even though this is clearly a football game, or soccer for our friends in the US, the devs describe it as a hyper-dimensional football RPG. And although none of us here knows what that means, it sure does sound great. It mixes in JRPG elements like character collection and training with supernatural special moves. And I can already feel your eyebrows raising the moment I said character collection. But don't you worry, there's no gacha system here. The measly 5,400 recruitable players from the franchise can only be unlocked through gameplay. Still, we'd kinda love to see the gacha math and cost calculation on that roster. Anyway, the main story campaign walks you through all the core gameplay systems, and after around 30 to 50 hours, you will unlock a new Game Plus mode. But the real highlight for most is probably the competitive multiplayer, with seasonal tournaments, quick matches, and a 2v2 co-op tag mode. Outside of the matches, you can explore Kizuna Town, a suburban hub where players can hang out, chat, and start multiplayer games. You can customize your avatar, and the town itself will also be customizable. Originally, there was going to be a full town building system, but that seems to have been scrapped during those past 7 years. Still, you'll be able to tweak the atmosphere a bit, run around and explore. Overall, the game looks like a well-rounded JRPG for all you football fans out there. If you've been craving an wuxia-inspired adventure, but your PC can't handle where winds meet, you might want to check out Sword of Justice. It's based on the 2018 Justice Online and had been polished for a global release. And while it can't quite match Where Winds Meet visually, Sword of Justice might be a better fit for you if you prefer more of an MMORPG experience, as this leans more towards teamwork and social play. Unfortunately, the main story is single-player only too, but it's surprisingly engaging. We got into one of the closed betas, and even with the Chinese voiceover only, it kept us hooked. Our Chinese skills end at ordering dumplings, but it was still engaging. The world itself looked great, though the beta build had its fair share of hiccups, frozen animations, lag, and a few bugs. Hopefully, those are sorted out before launch. And just a heads up, it's free to play and promises no pay to win, but you'll still see plenty of pricey cosmetics everywhere. Now, on the bright side, and I'm quoting here, Sword of Justice abandons tedious grinding and shatters outdated MMO conventions. Basically, it aims to make things stress-free for both casual and competitive players. You'll get rewarded no matter what you enjoy: farming, fishing, and even taking in-game photos. And if you hate being forced into dungeon groups, no worries. There's an NPC companion system that's got your back, so you can go solo without the pressure. If you're looking for a chill MMO experience where you can just hang out with friends and enjoy a beautiful world, Sword of Justice might exactly be what you've been looking for. But that's all for this month's releases. We hope you found something to look forward to in November. Whatever you're playing, we wish you loads of fun in co-op with your favorite people, and we'll see you again in the next one.